Hello everybody, welcome to weeks 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 of A Year of Game Design, the video journal where I document my progress learning how to design games with Unity for 30 minutes a day throughout the whole year. It's been 5 weeks. I apologize for the absence. With all the stuff going on in the world, work has been absolutely crazy. I'll talk a little bit about that in the back half of the video. But the good news is that for the most part, I've been able to keep up the programming part, not the video creation part, but the programming part of working on Unity for at least 30 minutes a day. It was tough in some parts. I'll talk about that again as well. But with that in mind, there's been a lot to catch up on. So I'm going to jump into the video and show what I've got done, talk a little bit about what's next, and then just spend a couple minutes talking about what the last 5 weeks has been like and the challenge it's presented, and then going forward where I'm looking forward to go. So really good to be back. I'm going to jump in. Let's take a look at what's been done in the past 5 weeks. So for the past 5 weeks, pretty much every day, I've worked at least a half an hour on Tundra Runner. Some days quite a bit more. I did miss 5 days towards the end of March where things just got so overwhelming. And then I did miss 1 day this past week when I was still trying to kind of regain power and energy and stuff like that from the month of March. But other than that, I was able to slog through and at least get in 30 minutes a day through the time. So I was really happy with that. Wasn't able to make videos, but at least was able to keep up that stretch of learning. So I'm happy to get through that rather stressful time. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But in that time, the good news is I was able to finish Tundra Runner, which if you recall some of the earlier episodes, I was working on designing my own. I broke away from some tutorials to work on my own game, which is just a short platformer, a 2D platformer. You're moving left to right across the screen. And I've been pretty much using that as a way to kind of try to build stuff and get away from that kind of tutorial mode. And the good news is that I finished a beta build of that. So you can play the game from start to finish. You can go all the way through from the tutorial to beating the final boss and getting the victory screen. And I put a link to it down below. You don't have to download it. You can play it in a web browser. It won't work on mobile because Unity web builds don't work on mobile devices. And someone was telling me it wasn't working very well on Firefox, but it works really well on Chrome. So for what that's worth, if you want to try the game out, I'd love to hear you get feedback, see what you think of it and stuff like that. But there's a link to it. You can just click on it and start playing. So nothing to download or anything like that. And again, I realize it's not a tremendously creative, original, long, good game. There's glitches. I've been playing through it a little bit in the past couple days. It's like, oh yeah, sound isn't quite right there and the movement isn't quite right there and stuff like that. But it feels good from the perspective of I made a thing and it's done and it took like 2 months to do it. So from that perspective, I feel pretty happy with how things have gone. But I thought to kind of show a little bit of the work, what I would do is just going to kind of jump in and play like each of the 5 levels for about 30 seconds or so. If you look down on the bottom screen, you can see these little Unity symbols, and there are 8 of them. One is for the main menu, one's for that level select menu where you can go back and forth between the levels you've unlocked, credit screen, and then the other 5 levels basically are the 5 levels of the game, starting with the tutorial. So let's just start this up here as a new game. And the new game, of course, will take you right into this tutorial, and you start on the left side of the screen. We got a music soundtrack, all kinds of sound effects and things like that. Heat bar in the top left is working, so as you run, as you wait, as time goes on, you get colder and you start to freeze, so you got to find fire. Get little instructions there on the space bar on how to jump. We got some moving platforms and stuff like that. So this is basically, again, just trying to introduce some of the mechanics of the game. You collect little ornaments to get points. If you get 100 points, red ones are worth 5. You get another extra life and things like that. So just lots of little things. Got the snowfall working. I think that was working in the last episode. Talks a little bit more instructions to jump and so on. So that's the tutorial level. Then once you're done with that, if you clear that and get to the end, and each level is maybe a minute or so to play through, maybe a couple minutes, you get to level 2, which is the first real level with all the things. Here we have the vampire snowman there moving back and forth. Oh, if I can land on his head. There we go. Jump up there. Oops, missed him. Jump over here, and you go through. So this is a level that's a little bit more challenging, collecting ornaments. And the idea, again, is to go all the way from left to right before you freeze to death or find a fireplace and get to the cabin at the end. Nothing really different than the first level, just that it's challenging. The first level is really easy because it's kind of a tutorial. Let's stop that one there, and let's jump over to level 3, where we introduce flying penguins. Let's get this one up and working. So again, you're starting on the left. Looks pretty similar. Oh, kind of stunned him a little bit there. Wow, this guy's a fast one. Let's jump over. Oh, I'm almost dead already. Let's get down there. Okay, yeah, so here we have the flying penguins. They will hurt you like that guy did if they hit you. And the idea, again, is to get past the... Oh, we got a little tricky one here. Oh, gosh. I don't know if I can make this. There we go. Yeah, okay. So you get the idea. Penguins now are in here. It's a little bit harder. You can land on them and kill them, and you go through. And then level 4 adds in the ice flowers. And this is one of the things I mentioned. There's a lot of things as I look in retrospect. This is really noisy, as you can probably imagine. Let me actually just turn this down a little bit in case you can't hear over me. These took a while to make. A lot of bugs to work out, trying to get the math right. I had to dig into trigonometry to figure out how to do sines and tangents and all these kinds of things, and cosines to get the shards to fire right. But they fire right and they work and everything like that. And if these shards hit you, they do damage. Click on that so you can move through. So we should see if I get hit by one of those. You got penguins and snowmen. This level gets kind of crazy. And one of the things I would do... Oh, I'm going to die here real quick, aren't I? Oh, hit by penguin, ice shard. Oh, God. Yeah, I'm dead. Ah, there we go. But anyway, you can't make it through. I have made it through every level. I tested it that way. With that level, one of the things I realized is that as you enter the level, all the flowers are shooting. So from like a design perspective, what I would do differently next time, I would have only the flowers start shooting as you get closer to them, so that I don't waste the computer's processing power firing like 10 flowers throughout the level all the time and have all that noise. So that's something I'd probably change if I were going to go through and tweak this a little bit more. And then the last level, the boss level, this one was really fun to make. So you start jumping up here. It has an abominable snowman in it. You get to these platforms. You get little floating platform. That's the last fire you get. So you have to make it through the boss battle before you run out of heat too. But when I jump down here, all looks calm until you get to the middle of it. The abominable snowman comes falling down from the sky. These snowballs are falling down. You have to dodge the snowballs for a certain amount of time. Then the platforms come in and you can jump on his head and damage him. He's got a health bar in the top right. As you're moving around trying to adjust, the snowballs fall faster each time. So they get through here now, and you get through like that, and you land on his head. Uh-oh, more snowballs coming faster and faster until the platforms appear. Here they are. Bang. There we go. Bang. Made it. And again, now you got 2 more times, I think, and it's starting to get really crazy with the snowballs. But you get the idea. Then if you kill him, you can go further to the right, and you get to the victory screen at the end, and the game's over. So there it is, 2 months of my life to make what you can probably play in about 10 or 15 minutes. But from a learning perspective, it was really fun. Now let's take a moment now, I think, and jump in and talk a little bit about kind of emotionally what it's been like, and like places I got stuck, things that went on for the last 5 weeks. Just take a couple quick minutes. I don't want to go melodramatic or anything like that, but just to kind of share a few things with that. And then what I hope to do going forward with the series, because it feels really good to be back and having time and energy now to make videos again. So let's jump in and talk a little bit about what the last 5 weeks have been like from a learning perspective. So again, one of the goals with this series to talk just a little bit about what the emotional roller coaster's been like has been trying to stay at it every day for 30 minutes a day. And I made it, was it 82 days before I missed a day. And March was crazy. I work in education for real work, and our whole state has shifted to distance learning with all the stuff that's going on with the coronavirus and stuff like that. And that's one of my areas that I've spent a lot of time in, is in course design and in training teachers and distance learning. So we were super busy. I mean, as things started to look like it was going to go that way, it was crazy. In the last 2 weeks of March, some nights working till like 2 in the morning and stuff like that. It was just nuts. Most of the time I was able to stop at midnight and say, okay, I'm going to crank away on this, and I'd be able to get in half an hour. It's kind of like my sanity half an hour before I go to sleep. And that was really helpful. But then the week of the 22nd of March, which is I think 2 weeks ago now, it was so crazy. I was just basically working. The stress was through the roof. It was pretty nuts. But with all that, I was pretty happy to make it that far. I was pretty happy to jump right back on once it started to calm down again at the end of that week. So I have jumped back on. So altogether, the first, I think we're almost like 100 days into the year, I've missed 6, and I'm trying to do 2 sessions to make those up, and I've made up 3 of them so far. So from a, can I keep doing this and keep going through, it hasn't been perfect, but all things considered, I'm pretty happy with how I've been able to keep going at it. Emotionally, it's been tough. There's been, in that March, it was really hard to find the energy at the end of the day to sit down and do it. A lot of it was a grind. Sometimes, although it was somewhat relaxing, it was really hard to have that mental energy to get through it. It wasn't fun. I wasn't having a good time. I was questioning what I was doing, but it was kind of the habit, I think, that kept me going. On the other side, now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm really glad I did that, because if I had stopped in early March, I think I might have given up and not made it through. So although I did fail 6 times, I'm really happy to have made it through. And it feels good now to be on the other side and be able to dig back in it with a little bit more mental energy and stuff like that. So that's it. I'm excited for where it's going to go. I'm going to try to get back to weekly episodes now. And going forward, now that Tundra Runner's done, I might fix a couple of big bugs or kind of tweak a little things if people find some big stuff. But for the most part, as a learning experience, which is why I made this, I feel like this one is done. I'm going to move on to some new things. Next up, I'm going to jump back into that tutorial course, that laser space game shooter that I was making before I started to start this, which I thought was going to be a quick like 2-week project, and it's been like 8-10 weeks so that I've been working on it. But whatever, it's all fun anyway. So I'm going to start on that. So we'll jump back next week and I'll show some progress in that space shooter. It's good to be back. Thanks again if you've missed some episodes and stuff like that. I hope maybe sorry about that, but sometimes these are extraordinary times and life happens and stuff like that, but it does feel really good to be back. If you've enjoyed the video and are enjoying this series, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you're new, by all means, subscribe, and should see regular videos coming out with the series, as well as trying to catch up on some of the other series I've been making too, to going forward. So thanks again for stopping by, and have a great